Exodus 20. Then God spoke all these words, saying, I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of those house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. Do not make for yourself a graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven or above, or on the earth below, or in the water under the earth. Do not bow down to them. Do not let anyone make you serve them, for I, Adonai your God, am a jealous God, bringing the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing loving kindness to the thousands of generations who love me and keep my mitzvot. You must not take the name of Adonai your God in vain, for Adonai will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in vain. Remember Yom Shabbat, to keep it holy. You are to work 6 days and do all your work, but the seventh day is Shabbat to Adonai your God. In it you shall not do any work, not you, nor your son, your daughter, your male servant, your female servant, your cattle, nor the outsider that is within your gates. For in 6 days Adonai made heavens and earth, the sea, and all that was in them, and rested on the seventh day. Thus Adonai blessed Yom Shabbat and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, so that your days may be long upon the land which Adonai your God is giving you. Do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal. Do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Do not covet your neighbor's house, your neighbor's wife, his manservant or his maidservant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. All the people witnessed the thundering and the lightning and the sound of the shofar and the mountain smoking. When the people saw it, they trembled and stood far off. So they said to Moses, You speak to us, and we will listen, but do not let God speak to us, or we will die. So Moses said to his people, Do not be afraid, for God has come to test you, so that his fear may be in you, so that you do not sin. The people stood far off, while Moses drew near to the thick darkness where God was. Then Adonai said to Moses, Say this to Bnei Israel, You yourselves have seen that I have spoken to you from heaven. Do not make gods of silver alongside me, and do not make gods of gold for yourself. You are to make an altar of earth for me, and there you will sacrifice your burnt offerings, your fellowship offerings, your sheep and your cattle, in every place where I cause my name to be mentioned. I will come to you and bless you. When you make for me an altar of stones, do not build it from cut stone, for if you use a tool in it, you will have profaned it. Nor are you to go up to my altar step, so that your nakedness will not be uncoverable on it. Exodus 21. Now these are the ordinances which you will set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he is to serve for 6 years, and in the seventh he is to go free without payment. If he comes in by himself, he is to go out by himself. If he was married, then his wife will go out with him. If his master gave him a wife, and she bears him sons and daughters, the wife and her children will be her master's, and he will go free by himself. But if the servant plainly states, I love my master, my wife, and my children, and I will not go free, then his master is to bring him to God, then take him to a door or to a doorpost. His master is to pierce his ear through with an awl, and he will serve him forever. If a man sells his daughter to be a maidservant, she is not to go free as the male servants do. If she does not please her master, who has selected her for himself, then he is to allow her to be redeemed. He will have no power to sell her to foreign people, seeing as he has dealt deceitfully toward her. If he betroths her to a son, he must give her to the rights of a daughter. If he takes another wife, he is not to diminish her food, her clothing, or her marriage rights. If he does not provide these three to her, then she will go free without payment. Then she is to go free without payment. Whoever strikes a man so that he dies must surely be put to death. But if he did not hunt him down, yet God caused it to happen, then I will appoint to you a place where he may run. If a man presumes to kill his neighbor with craftiness, you are to take him from my altar and put him to death. Anyone who strikes his father or his mother must surely be put to death. Anyone who steals a person and sells him or is found with him under his hand must surely be put to death. Anyone who steals a person and sells him or is found with him under his hand may surely be put to death. Whoever curses his father or his mother must surely be put to death. If people quarrel and one strikes the other with a stone or with a fist, and the other does not die but lies in bed, if he rises again and walks around on his staff, and the one which struck him will be cleared, but he must pay for the loss of his time and help him to be thoroughly healed. If a man strikes his male or female servant with a staff who dies by his hand, he must surely be punished. Notwithstanding, if the servant gets up in a day or two, he will not be punished, for he is his property. If men fight and hit a pregnant woman so that her child is born early and no harm follows, the one who hit her is to be strictly fined according to what the woman's husband demands of him. He must pay as the judges determine. But if any harm follows, then you are to penalize life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, blow for blow. If If a man strikes the eye of his male or female slave and destroys it, he must let him go free for the sake of his eyesight. If he strikes out his slave's tooth, he must let him go for the sake of his tooth. If an ox gores a man or a woman so that they die, the ox must surely be stoned, and its meat is not to be eaten, but the owner of the ox will be cleared. If the ox was given to goring in times past, and a warning has been given to its owner, yet he has not kept it pent up, and it has killed a man or a woman, then the ox must be stoned, and its owner must be put to death. If instead a ransom is placed on him, then he is to pay for the redemption of his life, whatever is demanded. Whether it is gored, a son or a daughter, the rule is to be applied to him. If the ox gives a male or female slave, he is to pay 30 shekels of silver to their master, and the ox is to be stoned. If one uncovers a pit or digs a pit and does not cover it, and an ox or donkey falls in, the owner of the pit must pay compensation. He is to give money to the owner, and the dead animal will be his. If one man's ox hurts another ox so that it dies, they are to sell the live ox and divide the price. They are to also divide the dead one. Or if it becomes known that the ox was given to violence in times past, and its owner has not kept it pent up, he must surely pay ox for ox, and the dead animal will be his own. If a man steals an ox or a sheep and kills it or sells it, he is to pay 5 oxen for 1 ox, or 4 sheep for 1 sheep. Exodus 22. If a thief found breaking in is struck so that he dies, there is no blood guilt for him. But if the sun is risen, there is blood guilt, and he is to make full restitution. If he has nothing, then he must be sold for theft. If the item is found in his hand alive, whether ox, donkey, or sheep, he is to pay double. If a man causes a field or a vineyard to be eaten by letting his animal loose, and it feeds in another man's field, then he is to make restitution from the best of his own field and the best of his own vineyard. If fire breaks out and spreads among thorns so that stalks of grain, standing grain, or the fields themselves are consumed, then the one who lit the fire must make full restitution. If a man entrusts his neighbor with money or items for safekeeping, and it is stolen out of the man's house, when the thief is found, he must pay double. If the thief is not found, then the master of the house is to present himself to God, to see whether he has laid his hand on his neighbor's goods, for any transgression, whether ox, donkey, sheep, clothing, or anything else lost. When someone pays it, "This is mine," the case of both parties is to be brought before God. The one to whom God convicts is to pay double to his neighbor. If a man entrusts his neighbor with a donkey, ox, sheep, or animal to care for, and it dies, it's hurt or taken away with no one seeing. Then there must be an oath before Adonai between the two of them to determine whether or not he has laid his hands on his neighbor's goods. The owner is to accept it with no restitution, but if indeed it is stolen from him, he is to make restitution to the owner. If it is torn in pieces, let him bring it as evidence. He is not required to pay for what has been torn to pieces. If a man borrows anything belonging to his neighbor and it is harmed or dies in the absence of the owner, he must make full restitution, but if the owner is present, he is not required to pay restitution. If it was rented and is covered by the rental fee, if a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged and lies with her, he must pay a dowry for her to be his wife, but if a father utterly refuses to give her to him, he must weigh out silver equal to the dowry of virgins. You must not permit a sorceress to live. Anyone who lies with an animal must surely be put to death. Anyone who sacrifices to the gods except to Adonai alone is to be put under a ban of destruction. You must not exploit or oppress an outsider, for you are an outsider in the land of Egypt. You must not mistreat any widow or orphan. If you mistreat them in any way and they cry out to me, I will surely hear their cry. My wrath will burn hot, and I will kill you with my sword. So your wives will become widows and your children will become orphans. If you lend money to any of my people, to the poor among you, you are not to act like a debt collector to them, and you are not to charge him interest. If you ever take your neighbor's cloak as a pledge, you are to return it to him before the sun goes down, for that is his only covering, his cloak for his skin. What will he sleep in? When he cries out to me, I will hear, because I am gracious. Do not despise God or curse a ruler of your people. Do not hold back fullness of your crops or your vintage. You are to present the firstborn of your sons to me. Do the same with your cattle and with your sheep. For 7 days it is to be with its mother, and on the 8th day you are to give it to me. You are to be a holy people for me. You must not eat flesh torn by beasts in the field. You may throw it out to the dogs.